a little block and give him a couple of yards of space. Flatter. Cross again.
Lock on to my face. There we go. Hey there, folks. Today is Wednesday, June 17th, 2026. It is 5:16 p.m. The temperature right now is about 21 degrees Celsius, and I'm here at Nathan Phillips Square. And there seems to be a festival taking place. I think it's called Southeast by East or something along those lines. We'll walk by a sign on the way out and see what it's actually called, but most of the attention seems to be over there on that screen as England is currently beating Croatia 3-2. And this is the first ever video I've recorded on this channel in 8K. So if you're fortunate enough to have an 8K capable display, turn up your resolution all the way. There are some trade-offs with this recording mode. Let's head down this ramp here. One of the trade-offs being I can't take advantage of that sweet zoom on this camera. I can only go 3 times while recording. I can stop recording and go up to the full 6 times. But beyond 6 times, I would have to be in 4K mode. But things are quite festive here. I am probably going to make my way down into the South Core. There's a lot of food vendors set up. There's certainly a bit of a vibe here. I can't get too close to the game. I might get the boot from the FIFA copyright gods. They are quite anal about all things World Cup being rebroadcast. And there's a game in Toronto, I think right after this game tonight. That's New City Hall off in the distance. All right, it is South by Southeast. There's no dates on that festival sign. We've got a busker. One of the downsides of this recording is that it is only in 30 frames per second. So it's not going to look quite as fluid as most of my videos. I always prefer pre-recorded videos outside to be in 60 frames. But this camera can only do 8K at 30 frames. Also, I couldn't control any of the color profiles. I only had the standard log and Dolby Vision options. So this is just in the standard color profile. It really restricts a lot of what you can do in 8K. I think to save on processing power and to manage the heat better. Gabe from the Walking Commuter channel in New York City took this thing out and recorded an 8K video, and his camera overheated. I think after about 25 minutes or so. I don't think we're in danger of that, as it's relatively cool today. I'm gonna head south down Bay, and I'll make my way over to Yonge. I think I might change my mind. This is now the financial district. And a look up at Old City Hall. Look at this traffic. Hello, that's me, yeah. Awesome. Take care. Friendly guy in a pickup truck. As we go south down Bay Street. I could use my software to insert fake frames and make this 60 frames per second, but I think we'll just stick to things the way they are. As we get to Richmond Street, all right, maybe I'll head over to Yonge. As I stand in the midst of a bunch of steam. Why is this driver honking? They should never have entered the intersection. There's definitely some advantages of 8K. It gives you a much sharper master file. You can reframe things better, punch in and crop, as there's plenty of resolution to work with. It also makes for a pretty gimmicky title and topic for a video. But don't get used to this. The DJI Pocket 4 could not do 8K. I'm curious if the Pocket 4 Pro coming out next week will be able to do that. That's the old Hudson's Bay and Saks Fifth Avenue building. All right, I'm gonna turn south onto Yonge Street. I imagine there'll be a decent amount of pedestrian traffic. But yeah, I could only choose 30, 25, or 24 frames per second, and I would never do 24 or 25. To my eyes, that makes the video look more like a slideshow. Also, there's no pure video or night mode available. And most viewers are going to be watching at 8K, or rather 4K or 1080p, or possibly 1440p. I googled how many YouTube viewers have an 8K capable display, and it estimated 1 to 3%. And even that seemed a little bit generous. And of those people with actual 8K displays, how many of them actually turn it up all the way when they're watching YouTube? Although if you are one of those few, I'm curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments. As we go south down Yonge Street, and if you're wondering what I get up to after this, you should be able to find a live stream on the channel, as that's what I'm planning to do right after this stream wraps up. And hopefully pick up some dinner, go home and catch most of the Blue Jay game, although they're in Boston. I think it's starting at 6:45 tonight. So I'm gonna miss the first 3 innings or so at least. As we get to Adelaide Street, there's a happy reunion. This is the old downtown business district, although these days the financial district is west of Yonge, which would be just on the other side of Yonge Street here. But the more south I go, the taller the buildings will get. Punctuated by the tallest on the mall at the very south end of Yonge Street. Here's where I went for dinner and a few drinks on Saturday night. I went to see Paranormal Activity at the Ed Mirvish Theater. I went to Craft just before that. Excellent spot, great service, solid food, really good selection of drinks. There's so much energy at street level at this time of day, especially once the weather gets a little nicer and not everyone's tucked away down in the path. As we get to King Street, my original plans were to start here at King and Yonge. All the people waiting for streetcars. But with the weather not being so great, I decided not to go all the way down to the waterfront and see what was going on at Nathan Phillips Square. I think that was a good call. Things are quite lively there. got sidewalk closed signs up ahead, but people seem to be marching straight on through. Niagara Falls tour. Book at queentour.ca. That sign was full of shit. The sidewalk's not closed. Once upon a time, the Marché was located right across the street. That was a very popular restaurant. It was kind of buffet style. They had a lot of different food stations set up, and you had a little punch card. And when you were done, you would just pay for it all on your way out. But it was an easy place to go to if you were with a group of people and you couldn't settle on what you wanted just because they had such a good variety. But Movenpick exited the Canadian market several years ago, from their restaurant business at least. And the game in Toronto tonight is Ghana versus Panama.
Build a strong economy by Canadians for Canadians. A message from the Government of Canada. On the world's roof, the legends rise to view their dreams with open eyes. They drain in quiet, out of sight.
There's Meridian Hall. All right, we'll test the zooming in 8K with this camera. So I can only go up to 3 times. But if I stop recording and come back, I should be able to punch up to 6. So I was at 2.9. I stopped recording and bumped it up to 3. Now we're all the way up to 6. If I were recording in 4K, I'd be able to go all the way up to 12K, or rather 12 times. And from here, you'd be able to see people if they're out on the edge walk. And unfortunately, I can only zoom out to 3 times. Hopefully that's something they can fix with a firmware update. I'll be curious to see how the Pocket 4 Pro handles that situation, if it can even do 8K. They still got some updating to do, as this camera can't do UVC webcam mode, has no clean video out option, and as of yet, still no live streaming. But now that I'm south of Front Street, we are entering the South Core. This is the Esplanade coming up. There's a neat piece of art on the side of that building there. It looks like a bald eagle. that's where the bus terminal used to be. Maybe we'll cross here. Whoa. The guy had a red light and just started moseying on up, almost hitting a pedestrian. Gotta make sure the reverse lights aren't on. Very unpleasant under here. There's a look up at the Sky Tower, the tallest building at 352 meters or 106 stories in the entire country. That's the rail corridor just behind me. Seems like a lot of unnecessary honking going on. That Sky Tower is probably the most dramatic example of the waterfront development boom in recent years. And these cars are all backed up, mostly trying to get on the Gardner Expressway, the crumbling highway right above me. There goes a megabus that's about to go sit in traffic for a very long time. It's a very questionable place to put such a bus terminal. In theory, it seems great, but when traffic is bad, you will not be going anywhere. Coach Canada bus just casually blocking the way. Poor old Canada wide, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. Blocking the intersection as well, or at least the crossing. camera is getting hot, but I don't think it's in any danger of overheating. The battery life has dropped down to 77%. It was at 100 when I started. And I said I was going to go along Harbor Street here, but I think we'll just go down to Queens Quay. Right at the foot of Yonge Street is Lake Ontario, and we'll be able to see some of the new electric ferry terminal getting built. And that will be arriving later this year, the actual first electric ferry. One BMW backs up, another backs up as well. The Sweet Scoop, ice cream and gelato. What a ridiculously long light cycle this is. Pedestrians be damned, I guess. Well, this is a one-way street.
What did you?
That guy had the right idea. I think for the electric ferries, passenger service isn't expected until 2027. They're going to have a lot of testing to do. There's the old Toronto Star building. I said I was going to go to Love Park, but I'm going to scratch those plans. Gonna head out that way and finish up right at the water's edge. There's the Westin. And to look north, up Yonge Street from the foot of Yonge Street. some food trucks. This one's not open, is it? Yeah, they are, the Spud House. I bet they'd be doing a much better business if the weather were a bit nicer. I'm going to render this thing out in the highest bit rate that I can. I think it's gonna, or it's writing to my SD card at 120 megabits a second. Or rather, the bit rate will be 120K, so that's what I'll render it out at. We've got a busy ferry. I just watched a vlog on Theme Park Worldwide where Sean, Charlotte, and their little son George spent a day enjoying things at Centerville Island. It was a really neat video to watch. They also have a couple from Canada's Wonderland and a few videos up from Niagara Falls. And once upon a time, this is where Captain John's restaurant was. And an old vessel that fell into quite a state of disrepair. It was a mainstay on this part of the waterfront for a very long time. That's where the new electric ferries will be received. I'm curious to hear your thoughts about my first and possibly only ever video in 8K. My phone can do 8K. That's an advertised feature of this camera. Fortunately, it didn't overheat, but again, it's not that kind of weather. But yeah, let me know down in the comments what you thought. Probably the 30 frames per second canceled out any benefit from the higher resolution. And if you wish to support what I do, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership down in the description. I've got an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing down below, should you wish to say thanks that way. As the wind picks up. Thank you. I gotta remember to lock that on. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Yoink.